we're going to start our Transportation Committee hearing. So everyone, welcome to the Minnesota Senate Transportation Committee of Monday, March 9th, 2026. The time is 3:07. We are in room 1100 of the Minnesota Senate building, and a quorum is present. And one moment. In accordance with the rules of the Senate, the following member will be participating remotely in today's hearing, Senator Carlson from Eagan. Members, we have 4 bills. It was 3, but now it's 4. It was 4, then it was 3, now it's 4 again, bills on the agenda, 2 having to do with designating stretches of our roadway system in memory of people we know and love. And then we have a bill from Senator Johnson-Stewart, a bill from Senator Jasinski. But we're going to start with the Right Honorable Senator Hoffman with Senate File 4073. Senator Hoffman, welcome to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being a co-author on this bill. This is an important bill, not only to me, but to a lot of other people. And what this does, Senate File 4073, is a bill that seeks to rename, there's a 13-mile stretch of Trunk Highway 610, to name it the Hortman Memorial Highway. Before I was elected, Mr. Chair and members, Melissa and Denise Dietrich had worked for years on this, what used to be farmland and one little road going through there, and it's a potato fields, right? And 610 became something out that connected 252 all the way to 94. And that critical span that stretches from Coon Rapids to Maple Grove, Mr. Chair, runs through the heart of Melissa Hortman's district, that community that she loved and supported throughout her time in the legislature. And when I was first elected, I had the honor of having Melissa as one of my House members, but even though she had been in the legislature for years already, she would often refer to me as the little sister of our legislative delegation, as she would gladly throw the Senate underneath the bus and smile with a nice smirk. And I asked then Stevenson, are you going to help me? And he said, no, I'm never going to disagree with Melissa Hortman publicly. So that was kind of like an inside baseball. But really, that was just true to her. She was humble, though, Mr. Chair, but she was tenacious, incredibly smart, was an incredible partner to have in the legislature. And, you know, even if we didn't agree on things or see eye to eye on something, she always treated me with respect, and I was honored to work with her on issues that our communities cared about. And this is one that I think that as she, who is an advocate for our community, she will go down in history as the most consequential speaker of the House of Representatives in Minnesota history. She will be remembered as one of the most impactful leaders at Minnesota, and it cannot be measured. But her work will be felt for generations, Mr. Chair. We have the opportunity to honor her memory and legacy, and this road went right behind her place. And I would ask for your support in remembering her with this honor. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman. Members to Senator Hoffman's bill. So, Senator Hoffman, I want to thank you for bringing this bill forward, give me the opportunity to be a co-author on it. There will no doubt be, there already are various programs and scholarships named for Senator Hortman. I am sure there will be more geographic designations that will be named for her, but the way I first met Senator Hortman was...
Representative.
Oh, what am I saying? Senator. I'm demoting, as they say. Representative.
You were a House member, I think, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. I did not serve with her in the House.
You did
but I did door knock with her the 2 times, and of course the 3rd time that she was successful, mostly at the behest of Representative Hornstein.
Yes.
With whom she was very, very close, and then I became very, very close with her because she took a real interest in transportation issues, and you know we schemed a lot over the years, and she was very, very, very creative. I remember her efforts on behalf of 610. I remember her efforts on behalf of Rice Street and trees along our state-owned roads and local roads. Yeah, I mean, humble, but understood the nature of power and the purpose and the reason for power is to stand up for things that were really, really important to stand up for. People who weren't able to stand up for themselves in a lot of ways around here.
Huge.
And humble and human and kind and funny, but sometimes grumpy and mad, you know, to create energy to keep things moving. She was just truly, truly remarkable. You know, having a trunk highway named for her, given her passion for transportation, so fitting. You know, we passed that 2008 bill, we passed the 2023 bill because of a lot of the political space that she created to get those things through, particularly the 2023 bill. She was the only one who spoke on the 2008 bill and the override. I mean, she was a force. We always felt, even if she wasn't in the room, we felt the invisible finger of Melissa Hortman guiding the contents and details of those transportation packages every time. So with that, anything else, members? All right, so Senator Hoffman, as we talked about, we're going to figure out how to pay for this and figure it all out and button it all up, and we'll get it on its merry way very soon. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I cannot duplicate what you just said. I would. Those are great. Thank you for those great notations about Melissa. In the solar standards bill that we did in 2013, she was not fun to negotiate with. Ask Senator Marty about that, but she was very, very articulate in that, and so thank you for your kind words, and this would be great. The Troopers Association has an interest in helping as well as on the funding side, Mr. Chair, if there's any conversations about that. So
perfect.
I appreciate.
So we'll figure out. We'll work with council and fiscal staff to figure out what that needs to look like in terms of language. And I anticipate Senator Hoffman will take it from the table and move it on its way as a standalone.
Okay.
Probably needs to stop off in finance because there's money that's implicated. But I'm guessing, I haven't had this conversation, but I'm guessing we'll send it to the floor on its own and not wrap it into the supplemental package.
Once you figure out the other pieces,
exactly.
The missing pieces on it. I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank
with
you,
that,
Mr.
we will
Chair.
lay Senate File 4073 on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Senator Hoffman. Senator Drazkowski, Senate File 3640.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members.
Senator Drazkowski.
Mr. Chairman, Senate File 3640 is a bill to designate the southernmost 1.5 miles of Minnesota Highway 58, which is about 23.5 mile segment of road. That's how long Highway 58 is. But to designate the southernmost 1.5 or 1.4 miles as the Officer Firefighter Gary L. Schroeder Jr. Memorial Highway. And Mr. Schroeder was a public safety leader in our region and very active in the city of Zumbrota, both as a firefighter, but especially as a police officer. With me today is Mr. Schroeder's father, Gary Schroeder Sr., and he's prepared to talk about Mr. Schroeder's service and the intent behind the bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Welcome, Mr. Schroeder.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Gary Schroeder Sr. My wife is here today with me as well, Susan. We are the proud parents of Zumbrota police officer and volunteer firefighter Gary L. Schroeder Jr., who sadly passed away on April 17th, 2023, as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, developed during his service. We respectfully request that the portion of State Highway 58 within the Zumbrota city limits, about 1.4 miles from boundary to boundary. Be named Officer Firefighter Gary L. Schroeder Jr. Memorial Highway. I understand the responsibility for the cost that falls to the requesting party, and we are prepared to cover these expenses. I have spoken with Zumbrota City Administrator Brian Gunham, who fully supports this initiative. Gary Jr. served Zumbrota as a police officer for 18 years. Before that, as a peace officer for 3 years between Grand Meadow and Alden Police Department. He also volunteered on as a firefighter in Zumbrota for 9 years. Due to PTSD, he was medically retired from both roles. Gary Jr. was well respected and actively engaged in his community. He is survived by his wife, Kim, of 20 years. There are 3 sons, Ethan, 20, Kobe, 18, and Jacob, 17. Naming this section of highway in his honor would be both recognize his devoted service and raise awareness about PTSD among first responders, and a message of remembrance and advocacy for everyone who travels this route. As a side note, at his funeral, as people were coming up to greet us, it was funny that, I shouldn't say funny, but it was remarkable that a person that Gary had arrested and put in jail came up and said, "Thank you for letting Gary be a peace officer. He recognized, he treated each and every human being respectively every time that he made a stop, regardless if it was for speeding or that they had to go to jail." One other thing was a grandfather that came up and said to us, "I'm sorry I killed your son." I was kind of taken back by that. "What do you mean you killed my son?" "No, he died from PTSD." "No, he was the first responder. He was the first person on scene." His grandfather, this person, built a 6x6 swing set for his grandson, and it collapsed on top of him. And my son was first there doing CPR on him. The 9-year-old scrubbed to his injuries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee, for considering this request.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Thank you for being here and sharing the story, as difficult as it was. It's a great honor to him and his service. Let me thank you on behalf of this committee for him and his service and for your family. And please accept our condolences.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members. All right, Senator Drazkowski, I think we said we were going to lay you on the table, but I think actually everything is in order. Before that, excuse me, Ms. Boyd, if you could just help us understand the fiscal note.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and members, the fiscal note that was provided in your packet has actually been revised since it was printed. There should be a net zero cost, as there usually is with these bills. Since the cost of the signs is paid by non-state sources, the $4,000 expenditure shown would be offset by a $4,000 revenue. So the rest of the fiscal note is correct on the details, but just that would be a net zero on that.
So Ms. Boyd, what would a motion, would the motion be more appropriately to finance or more appropriately to the floor?
Mr. Chair, I believe we usually send these bills directly to the floor.
Okay.
With that.
All right, thank you. All right, members, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Schroeder, for coming and testifying today. It's got to be a difficult thing to come, but thank you for coming today and sharing your story. With that, I'd move Senate File 3640 be passed and recommended to be sent to the floor.
All right, anything further, members? Before I take that, I'll say that in accordance with the rules of the Senate, the following member will be participating remotely in today's hearing, Senator McEwen from Duluth. So now she can vote. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Thank you again to you and your family, Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members.
All right, Senator Johnson Stewart, moving on to Senate File 3691.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I have a testifier. Come on up.
All right, as your testifier makes his way to the table, Senator
Hi.
Johnson Stewart, you have the A1 amendment.
Yes, I move the A1. Everyone has a copy already, I believe.
All right, that is an author's amendment. This is the first hearing of the bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Senate File 3691 establishes an Intelligent Speed Assistance Program. So if I say ISA, it stands for Intelligent Speed Assistance. So this bill seeks to address the issue of super speeders and chronic restless drivers whose actions behind the wheel put public safety at risk. The legislation addresses excessive speeding violations by requiring certain speeding offenders to install and maintain a device that's called an Intelligent Speed Assistant Device on their vehicle as a condition of obtaining restricted licenses or getting their license reinstated. The legislation establishes licensing requirements for these ISA device providers and compliance monitoring procedures. We should note that speeding contributes to nearly 1/3 of our nation's traffic deaths, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Speeding is a significant hazard on our Minnesota roads. In 2025 and 2024, speed was the second leading cause of fatal crashes, behind only impaired driving. Speed caused 98 fatalities in 2025 and 138 in 2024. And in 2023, speed was a leading cause of fatalities in Minnesota roads with 113 fatalities caused by speeding. These deaths are preventable, and this legislation will save lives by requiring super speeders whose licenses have been suspended or revoked to use this aftermarket ISA technology. Note that program participants will be allowed, but not forced, allowed to obtain a restricted license with the ISA program participation. That's especially important because 75% of people continue to drive on a suspended license. ISA technology has been used for more than 30 years on commercial fleets and is emerging as an innovative countermeasure for super speeders. It should be noted that two states and Washington, D.C. have established ISA programs, and there are 16 other states that are working through this legislation in their own legislatures. Active ISA uses location-based technology to recognize speed limits, much like when you're using Navigate on your car, you see the speed limit, and it prevents the vehicle from operating beyond a preset limit as determined by the state. Once that speed limit is reached, the pedal becomes unresponsive and will not allow the vehicle to accelerate further. It does allow for temporary overrides. So that's an important, and you'll see that provision in the A1, that there was some concern that drivers may need to speed up to avoid something or to quickly merge or exit, and this A1 does allow for that override. Active ISA technology enables individuals to seamlessly integrate back into their daily routines, facilitating their commute to work, school, and home, and it also enhances road safety while providing feedback to the driver to promote their safer driving habits. So basically, this technology is installed in a driver's vehicle, much like the breathalyzer, or the blow ignition for people with repeated DWIs. And what it does is it works with GPS to recognize local speed limit and prevent a driver who chooses to have this technology, prevents them from driving faster than the posted speed limit, except under emergency conditions. So I do have a virtual testifier. If we could go to them first, that would be Pam Mason. Do we have anybody virtually?
Thanks. So Senator John Stewart will take the testifiers, but then we'll come back to you to walk us through the bill.
Oh, yeah.
After the testimony.
And note that there is a fiscal note as well.
And we'll have Ms. Boyd walk us through the fiscal note after that. All right, so yes, we'll honor your request, and we'll jump to Pam Mason, who's joining us by Zoom. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and then proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pam Mason, and this is my son, Austin. I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, and the Transportation Committee for the opportunity to speak. I am a volunteer with the Families for Safe Streets organization, an organization whose members comprise those who have had their lives shattered by traffic violence by way of a fatality or a serious lifelong injury. And I want to urge you, with everything I have in me, to please consider and pass the Stop Super Speeders bill and require the ISA technology for habitual and reckless drivers. If it weren't for a speeding, distracted driver, I wouldn't be here testifying today, nor would I be having to do it virtually from Iowa, where my son now resides in a specialty hospital. You see, on September 25th, 2021, he was in a hit and run crash. My son, Austin, then 19 years old, came into the kitchen. I was doing dishes, gave me a big bear hug, gave me a kiss on my cheek, and said he had the best mama ever. And he proceeded to say that he and his best friend were going to go for a bike ride. And I gave him a kiss, and I said, well, be careful. And he goes, I will, Mom. I always am. And little did I know that that would be the last time I would get that hug, feel that hug, hear his words, hear his voice, watch him walk away. Because this is how my son is now. Oops. Anyway, because on that night, he was in the crosswalk on his bicycle. His friend was behind him, and he was hit by a speeding driver. And according to an eyewitness, my son catapulted in the air like a rag doll before landing on his back in the middle of the intersection. His shoes were on either side of the intersection, as were bicycle parts. And in that picture, if you could have seen it, it shows now that my son is in a wheelchair. He's quadriplegic, blind, nonverbal, and suffers from a traumatic brain injury. The speeding driver never stopped. And this is the lifelong change that has impacted every single day. And the cameras weren't on that night, or that evening, excuse me. They were never caught. And Austin was once obviously very active. He was funny, he was smart, adored by his friends and family, and he wanted to become a personal trainer. He wanted to help people lead healthy lives, and someone else took that away from him and our family. So we've talked about fatalities, but this bill would also help address those lives who've been impacted due to someone else's negligence and someone's whose lives are forever changed, albeit they're still alive. It's not what we had certainly hoped for or thought could ever happen. And so behind every traffic violence, that's a person. That statistic represents a person, and we feel the pain every single day. So super speeders need life-saving technology that prevents them from endangering others, just as drunk drivers need that ignition interlock devices. Will this legislation solve the problem? No. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start holding people accountable. And this will help save lives, protect families, and make our Minnesota streets safer. So you have the power and you have the responsibility to act. And so I thank you for your time and your consideration and your commitment to helping keep Minnesotans safe. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mason. Thank you for the courage to share your story with us, and best wishes to your family and to your son. Appreciate your being here with us. All right, so should we jump back to the top of the testifiers list?
Sure.
Senator Johnson Stewart. Okay, we have CJ Linder from Bike MN. Welcome.
Introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chair. My name is CJ Linder. I'm the Education and Policy Manager from the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota. Thank you, Senators, for bringing this bill and for the opportunity to testify. The Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota supports safe and convenient access to transportation for all Minnesotans, particularly for the 30% of Minnesotans who don't drive or have access to a vehicle. Speeding is a leading risk factor on our streets, contributes to traffic violence and dangers, not only for the drivers, but importantly for people outside of that vehicle, for their passengers, for other drivers on the road, and for people who walk, bike, and roll on our transportation systems. Unfortunately, that latter group, people walking, biking, and rolling, who we might term together vulnerable road users, face a disproportionate risk from speeding and other traffic risks. They're up to 4 times more likely to be injured while using our transportation system. And so we support proven countermeasures that improve those safety outcomes, and importantly, in this case, by reducing the speed involved in crashes. I would point to a couple of years ago where the legislature, in its wisdom, gave local communities the option to reduce posted speed limits, and we've seen many communities across Minnesota take advantage of doing exactly that. That is one of the tools available. There are other tools available as well. Photo enforcement, something we're excited about as a potential to address speeding as well as street design. The Intelligent Speed Assist program is one of those tools in the toolbox that collectively can help to address this crucial problem. It's a data-supported intervention and improvements, and the Bicycle Alliance is proud to support this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Questions, members? All right, Joshua Hodek. Welcome.
Chair Dibble and members, my name is Joshua Hodek. I live in Minneapolis. I've been involved in transportation planning and advocacy in urban, suburban, and greater Minnesota communities for 21 years. I am a true believer that street design actually has the most profound impact on roadway safety and driver behavior. But the unfortunate reality is that we may never be able to make all of our streets safer by redesigning and reconstructing them. This obviously takes time, funding, initiative, any of which might be lacking. We need innovative and effective solutions to addressing chronic behavior, dangerous driver behavior, excuse me. Speeding is a public health crisis. The Stop Super Speeders bill will advance life-saving, equitable technology that targets the most dangerous drivers in our state while maintaining mobility and fairness. This bill will target the worst of the worst and enable technology to prevent these dangerous drivers from hurting and sometimes killing others. A small, high-risk subset of drivers, those repeatedly caught speeding, are responsible for a disproportionate number of fatal and serious crashes across our state. We need a comprehensive approach that I call to what I call traffic violence, that you heard that term before. I've met far too many people that have lost loved ones or suffered life-altering injuries in violent but preventable crashes. This bill will legalize a fair and critical tool to save Minnesotans' lives. It's common sense. It should be bipartisan. Our lives, maybe your life, maybe a family member's life, may depend on you supporting the Stop Super Speeders bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodek. Questions, members? All right, moving on to Julie Risser, also representing Families for Safe Streets. Members, I'll also mention that Families for Safe Streets provided a report, the executive summary for which is in your packets, and the full report is posted on the committee website. Welcome, Ms. Risser.
Thank you, Chair Dibble, members of the committee, Senator Johnson. I'm Julie Risser. January 14th, 2019, a reckless driver killed my nephew, Henry Zietlow. Speed worsened the crash. It's a public health crisis, and now I know this personally. I'm also an Edina City Council member. Like all communities, Edina suffers from high-speed traffic violence. June 16th, 2023, a man released for hit and run exited 35W over 100 miles per hour and crashed into a car on Lake Street, instantly killing 5 young women, all active in their communities, loved, talented, and eager to start careers in the health and education fields. Sabrina Lee, an Edina High School graduate, just 17. September 1st, 2024, a drunk driver sped into the Park Tavern patio, killing 2 people and injuring at least a dozen. One of the injured, Edina High School graduate Theo Larson, an emergency room nurse. Theo lost his colleague Gabe Harvey and suffered traumatic brain injury. July 21st, 2025, Finn Cronin, 18 years old, severely injured street racing. The Minnesota Department of Transportation cameras recorded the young drivers involved with this going over 100 miles per hour. 2 weeks later, he died. An Edina family devastated. High-speed crashes shatters families and communities. I was at an MCAD faculty lunch when I got the call. I walked away from colleagues into an exhibit space, and there my world changed. There's been a crash. We lost Henry. Words cause physical change. I disassociated, but details remain seared in my brain. The carpet pattern, the gray concrete, my hand floating up to tap a colleague's shoulder. How was it moving? I had to leave. I knew that. I was messed up, but I couldn't drive. Henry was 18, home from his first semester at Bowdoin College, a skilled violinist, a champion rower, and a science fair standout. He also had a sense of humor. The last time I saw him was Christmas Day. He showed up to my parents wearing pajamas. Slowing down is so important, and as noted earlier, cities have been taking action. I was driving the limit, 25 miles per hour on Wooddale, when a kid suddenly sailed in front of my car on rollerblades, holding a hockey stick and going after a tennis ball. I could stop, and he was okay. This potential future hockey phenom was okay. Senate File 3691 offers common sense technology that will make Minnesota roads safer. Please support it.
Thank you, council member. Questions, members? All right, coming back to Senator Johnson Stewart, if you could just help us understand the bill a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Sorry about
quite all
that. Yeah, I'm still kind of new here. We do have
We're
written
only going to
test.
let you get away with that a couple more times.
How about a couple more years? We do have written testimony in the committee notes from Ian Thomas as well.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill, again, I explained kind of the overview, but if we walk through it, Section 1, it does have quite a few changes, and we will have a few more committee stops as we go. We're familiar, we understand that. But Section 1 makes a conforming change related to driver's license revocation for speeding. Section 2 makes it a gross misdemeanor for the holder of a restricted license issued under the program to drive a motor vehicle that is not equipped with a device certified by the commissioner. Section 3 requires driver's license revocation if the holder exceeds a speed limit by 30 or more miles per hour or commits 3 or more speeding violations in any 12-month period. Section 4 establishes the license revocation time period for a driver that commits multiple speed limit violations within a 20-year period. It also provides that a person in this intelligent speed assistance program is permitted to operate a motor vehicle, and that the commissioner can extend a revocation period if the participant commits a violation. Section 5 makes a conforming change to clarify that a person who participates in the ISA program is not guilty of a gross misdemeanor under this section for operating a motor vehicle as part of this program. Section 6 directs the Commissioner of Public Safety to create this ISA program and establishes recommendations and definitions. And then subdivision 2, the definitions are for, do you want me to read all these, Senator? Or Mr. Chair? I will.
If for no other reason than to inform the listening.
Yep, I understand. So the definitions covered in subdivision 6, in section 6, subdivision 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera, are related to definitions, and they are performance standards, certification, and performance requirements. So they establish standards for setting up the ISA devices and for certifying devices. Location tracking is identified and defined, allows permit devices to use location tracking to determine speed limits, and imposes data privacy requirements to device providers. It also, subdivision 4 outlines program requirements, requires the Commissioner of Public Safety to establish guidelines for participation in the program, and it provides that the program must allow participants to use this speed override on 3 separate occasions in any 30-day period. So remember what I said before, that there also may be a need for an emergency speed up, but there is a limit to the number of times that can happen, and you'll see in the amendment that that's further defined. Subdivision 6 outlines the penalties for program violations. It requires the Commissioner of Public Safety to extend a participant's license revocation period if the person violates certain program requirements, and then those revocation periods increase for second and third violations. It provides that a participant may remain in the program after a violation under this subdivision, but that the Commissioner can terminate participation in order to protect public safety. We're almost done. It outlines penalties for tampering. Again, we have similar rules for ignition interlock, but I'll read these. Establishes a misdemeanor for a person who lends, rents, or leases a motor vehicle without a speed control device to a participant in this program. If the person knows of the participant's license requirements, and it establishes a misdemeanor for tampering with an intelligent speed assistance device, except in an emergency. Then venue establishes venue rules for prosecution of the violations. Subdivision 9 talks about rulemaking, directs the Commissioner of Public Safety to adopt performance standards, certification process for devices, program guidelines, and any other rules necessary. And then lastly, choice of vendor. It prohibits judicial officers, county agencies, or probation officers from directing participants to a specific or particular provider, except that counties may direct participants that are indigent to specific providers in order to reduce cost. And then lastly, subdivision 11 talks about termination from the program and re-entry. It provides that if a participant's license is withdrawn for an act other than a qualifying speed violation, the participant cannot operate a motor vehicle but can remain in the program without receiving credit for that time. It provides that a person who voluntarily withdraws and re-enters receives credit for the total time of participation, and provides that a participant who commits a qualifying speed violation is terminated from the program but may re-enter the program without receiving credit for time spent before the violation. And then lastly, Section 7 appropriates an unspecified amount for creating this program. I also want to draw attention to the A1. makes clarifications to the device and specifies that the device is aftermarket. It also clarifies the rules by which this override can be engaged. So this removes the limit of 3 uses in 30 days, which I accidentally read before I realized that it was amended, and places the authority to establish limits with the commissioner. And that's because there was some concern about not being able to override that speed acceleration in emergency conditions. So that's the bill, and as I noted, we do have a fiscal note, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll turn our attention to the fiscal note next, and then we'll open up for questions and/or amendments. Ms. Boyd, if you could please walk us through the fiscal note.
Sure, Mr. Chair. You should have the fiscal note in your packet, Senate File 3691. As you'll see on the first page, there are costs under the Public Safety Department from the Special Revenue Fund. This would be from the DVS operating account. And there are several agencies listed on the fiscal note, but all of the costs are under the Public Safety Department. And what that is listed, starting on page 4 of the fiscal note. You can see in the narrative that in the first year, let's see, there are staff, the totals include staff costs of a new unit within driver services. This would be similar to the ignition interlock unit that began, I believe, in 2011. In the first year, there would be the staff costs of a supervisor for the unit who would oversee implementation and rulemaking. And the first year cost would also include the cost of rulemaking, approximately $309,000 for that. And then in the second year and ongoing would be an additional 4 FTEs, I believe, 3 in the new unit and 1 in the driver and evaluation unit that would be for additional interviews related to the new program requirements similar to ignition interlock. There would also be operating costs for the 5 additional staff and also costs related to a new field agent for the unit, for vehicle leasing and cell phone. And so you can see that the additional expenditures will be $423,000 in the first year and $519,000 ongoing.
Thank you. Okay, members, now we will turn to the committee for questions. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Stewart, for bringing this forward. First of all, I want to sympathize with anybody who's been impacted by speeds and accidents and all those things. So I definitely take that into consideration. A couple concerns I have is the fiscal note, Department of Public Safety. It's $423,027, $519,028, $1,038,000 in 29. So we're increasing spending. We're increasing employees on the state from 1 to 5. Again, a lot of things I'm hearing these days on increased taxes, and I know this isn't directly on a property tax, but we're increasing the size of government and increasing that. The other concern I had was the 3 or more within 12 months. So if they're 10 miles over and they've had 3 within 12 months, they still would have to, the person who would get this would still have to pay for that to put this in. So, I mean, again, I don't think that's a chronic overuser at 10 miles over, but technically by this bill, if I had 3 over 10 miles an hour right at 10 miles, I would have to be required to put this in if I wanted to keep my license. So another cost. The override, a little bit concerning if you have to accelerate for something and how that kicks in and those issues with that would be a concern. I think there's only one vendor that does this, so I don't know who brought this to you, if it's being pushed by one vendor. Maybe it's not, maybe it's something you just dreamed up in the middle of your night about this, but maybe it's a vendor that brought this, and if there's only one vendor that provides the service, that would be a concern to me. I don't know any other states that have had it very long term. I think 6 months is the longest that anybody's had this in, to my knowledge, or what I had heard, so that would be a concern that we're starting something we really don't have any proof of how it works or any other states that have done it. And maybe you can answer the other states. I don't know if that's true or not, if I got bad information, but I think there's only one other state, and I think it's only been in law for 6 months. So those are my concerns. I guess the biggest one is the cost. We're increasing the size of government, and I was in my district this weekend, and and this isn't directly on property taxes, but we're spending more and more money at the state up here, and people in the district and the taxpayers are getting overwhelmed with more fees and more fees. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
that was like 5 things.
I took
And I
notes.
didn't, okay, you did, I didn't
Go
catch
back
them.
one-on-one if you want. No, just
All right. Well, let's give Senator Johnson Stewart a crack at it, and she missed any, or you need a more thorough response, we'll come back. All right, Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Jasinski. I only have information in front of me regarding 2. So Washington, D.C. was the very first jurisdiction to enact this program, and to your point, it has only been up and running for just over 2 years, or nearing 2 years. So first enacted in 2024. Virginia has been the second jurisdiction to adopt the law, and they are working on the implementation, so they don't have data yet. Washington also, Washington State, they have enacted the law, but it will not go into effect until 2029. So Senator Jasinski is correct that we really don't have good data to show how this is working. So I want to acknowledge that. The override, I understand your concern, and so if you read in the A1, we did try to address that. Let me give the A1, and you'll notice, are you, Mr. Chair, I would like to
Senator
know if Senator Jasinski is concerned that there's too much override, or if you're concerned about the mechanics of how the device works.
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. The mechanics of just, if you go to accelerate and you're trying to avoid something and it doesn't kick in and you can't go there or something like that, more the mechanics of how that works and what a secondary danger that could bring.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Yeah, acknowledged. I can't speak to that. We did change it so that, or amend the bill so that the 3 overrides in a month was taken out, because I don't know about you guys, but driving in this area, there's a lot of times where you have to take evasive action. I cannot speak to how the mechanics works, as I'm a civil engineer and not a mechanical engineer. I love getting that
I knew it was
in every
coming.
time I can. But I will certainly try. We have several more stops, and I think all of those are good points. We can look into that. So, Mr.
I think
Chair.
Senator Carlson's a mechanical engineer, right?
Senator Carlson is. I wonder if he's engaged. Senator Carlson perhaps could answer a question about that, but I don't know if he has the
Senator Carlson
expertise.
it looks like his mute came off. Senator Carlson.
Well, I don't know that a mechanical engineer has any more insight than does a civil engineer. But I do have one question, though. So if you want to entertain my question.
Have we gotten through I don't know if we've got through all of Senator Jasinski's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I think Senator Johnson Stewart addressed each one and obviously has some of those same concerns. So appreciate that. Again, I get the safety portion of it, but there's some other issues. And again, I think the biggest one for me is we're increasing government size and we're 5 employees. Department of Public Safety can use money, but this is going to cost them more money each year. And I'm sure their budget is tight as well. So I want to understand that. But again, it's all those concerns. So thank you.
So Senator Jasinski, I'm going to come back to that question because I'm curious about that too.
Oh, sure.
I see Senator Johnson Stewart wants to jump in, and then we'll go to Senator Carlson. Senator
Thank you,
Johnson
Mr.
Stewart.
Chair. Senator Jasinski, I wrote something on item 5, and I don't understand my notes. What was the last thing you concerned? You were concerned about how many vendors there were, and then the last note, I must have gotten distracted. I didn't. It's not.
No, you got them
legible.
all. Just the vendors. I think, to my understanding, there's only one vendor out there right now. I know this would be set up for more, but again, with one vendor there, and we're going to be contracting with that. Just curious did they bring this forward, or did this something that you thought up of, or is this something the department's looking at, or kind of where did this originate from? Is always my question especially when there's only one vendor involved. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's good.
All right, thank you. Senator Carlson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. While we were talking, I was thinking about the GPS control and the ability to levy a violation. And for instance, if someone goes to Wisconsin and is speeding, is that detectable? Or does it shut off when you cross the border? And if you speed when you're in another state, does that become a Minnesota violation or, for instance, a Wisconsin violation?
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Carlson, that's an excellent question. I think I will have to find out the answer and get back to you. I don't have the answer right now.
That's a great question that needs an answer. Senator Carlson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
I'll wait for that answer. Yeah.
So, members, I should have mentioned this. If the committee decides to support this today, it would be referred to judiciary, then it would be referred to state and local. Then I would insist that it come back here to see what those committees have done with the bill, and or to have more of our questions answered and fashion some response to those questions that are still out there, and we can decide at that time if we want to move it along into a package that we would support or on its own. So that's my plan, but of course it depends on if we move it out today. Other questions, members? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. I'm wondering, so the questions about the mechanical operation of it sort of piqued an idea. I'm wondering, like, how does this limit how fast you can go and then you have to manually override it, or does it just monitor your speed? And the reason I ask is, if you're in a situation where you need to speed up because somebody's coming at you and you need to, you're passing somebody, if you have to look away and manually override it and then speed up, you sort of lose precious time. So is that how it operates, or is it just monitoring your speed and then somebody looks at the logs and says, wow, you were doing 90 miles an hour for 4 minutes. What was going on there? Because it seems like if you'd have to manually override it in an emergency situation, it would be more dangerous than the actual speeding would have been. But possibly I'm wrong about that.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Chair Dibble and Senator Farnsworth, that is an excellent question. I'm a little ashamed that I don't know how it actually overrides. I know it does override, so I can't answer that, but it's a great question. And I'm wondering why, well, I mean, if it just overrides based on the acceleration of the gas pedal or how it works, how we can, why that wouldn't just happen over and over again. So, Mr. Chair, Senator Farnsworth, I will study this device a little bit better so I can answer some of those questions before I go to judiciary, for sure.
Senator Farnsworth. All right. Other questions, members? All right. So I wanted to come back to the question around the fiscal elements. Senator Johnson Stewart, are you able to help us understand your intention or a little bit more about how the bill is constructed? It does call for $423,000 in the current biennium, and then $519,000 in each of the subsequent bienniums, or in the current year, and then another $1 million or so dollars coming from the Driver and Vehicle Services Special Revenue Fund to stand up a whole new unit in Driver and Vehicle Services to be operated similarly to the existing ignition interlock unit. And then there's, I think, a little bit that pays for rulemaking and some de minimis costs at some other levels of government. Are we thinking that this bill, through the fees required of the violators, would self-support, or is this a subsidy coming from other folks who pay fees into the Driver Vehicle Services Fund? Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, my intent and my understanding is that this is a voluntary, this is a program which a super speeder is allowed to voluntarily enroll in, and that they are the ones that incur the cost of being a program participant. Now, with that, we all know that we all pay costs, and there are some overhead costs. So my intent is that the super speeders themselves pay the majority of the costs.
All right. So maybe Ms. Boyd can point us to where that's spelled out in the bill, because I didn't quite pick up on that.
Mr. Chair and members, I don't believe that is, maybe Mr. Watson can help me, but there is nothing in the bill that is very specific about the fees the fees for the program would go back to the cost of the program vendor and the device in the vehicle, and all the underpinning, data that has to go in with that. The actual costs at DVS, the staffing costs and rulemaking are not covered. There is a blank appropriation, I believe, but that is only for the DVS costs. So there are two different things we're talking about here, and the program participants' payments would not go toward the DVS costs listed in the fiscal note.
I see. So we would, Ms. Boyd, we would need to, maybe in this appropriations section, indicate that the program fees would pay for those costs you just described and be sufficient for the program to support itself.
Mr. Chair, you could change that to specify to the Commissioner of Public Safety for the staffing and operational costs and driver services for the program. And that appropriation would just be for the cost of DVS, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Okie dokie. I would like to do that before we move this along. If we're going to move this along today, I'd like to take care of that in this committee today. Okay, so we have Senator Nelson in the queue and Senator Jasinski in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I couldn't hear all of that discussion, but the part that I got, I guess what I would like to see is, if it's possible, I would like to see the super speeders, their fines, whatever, pay for those additional FTEs, or at least a part of it. And I don't know how to do that, but it seems that just as maybe the ignition locks are part of that, or a similar pattern, I don't know, but we should be able to figure out how the super speeders and their fines can be used to help pay for the FTEs to run this program. And I don't know how to do that, if it would be an increase, I know that's a whole nother subject, increase in the fines or a surcharge on the fines to help pay for the staff to make this run. I hope there's a way to examine that.
I have my brain trust over here working on that very question. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Nelson, I agree with you. And so I wonder, just as a question, how is the Ignition Interlock program funded? Do people pay, I don't know how that works, if they pay above the cost of the device and the reporting, et cetera, to cover staff time? It would be something to look to as a model, if in fact it does what Senator Nelson does.
Thanks. And we do have, they're kind of hiding, they're dodging, they're bobbing and weaving. I might call Director Zhang forward to help us understand how the Ignition Interlock program works in terms of who pays, how it's supported, et cetera.
No, you're on the hot seat, not me.
Welcome, Director Zhang.
Introduce yourself.
Director Zhang, with Driver and Vehicle Services. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. The Ignition Interlock program is paid for partly through our operating budget, and also with some federal grant funding via OTS through their federal grant structures. As far as fees, those who participate in Ignition Interlock and those who have revocations related to those types of incidents do pay a reinstatement fee that goes into the DVSOA, just like every other fee does. And so it in part does contribute to the account, but no specific fee is charged to Ignition Interlock participants as a participant. And I think there's a conversation, I know this is not the question asked, but I'll just add that like we do for ignition interlock vendors, we negotiate the fees with the vendors that the vendors will charge to the customers. It's part of their certification process. We anticipate that we would establish some sort of fee structure as we certify vendors into this model as well.
So, so Director Zhang, so the ignition interlock system sounds like it receives support from federal grants, some support just from the operating funds of driver and vehicle services, not connected to any particular source. And then I didn't quite catch exactly how, what the fees the program participants pay are and to whom. And right, and so our basic question is, my basic question is, in ignition interlock, is that subsidized in a sense by all the other folks who pay fees, you know, through their driver transaction, their vehicle transactions, and how much of the overall program, in your estimation, is supported by those who are using the ignition interlock?
Mr. Chair and members, ignition interlock participants pay just the fee to the vendor to have the device installed, and there's a monthly payment structure that is set up there. They do not pay any additional fee to participate as an ignition interlock device participant with DVS or through the state. And their reinstatement fee, once they are done with the program and they're able to have a fully valid license, that reinstatement fee goes into the DVSOA with all the other fees that are collected. In terms of contribution of reinstatement fees to the operating account, I think that's a trickier jump because the appropriation for the DVS operating budget comes from the DVSOA, and from that we hire and pay for salaries that support this program. We don't designate, we don't make that, we don't track that accounting of where fees actually come from in relation to the programs they support. We do get a separate driver appropriation and vehicle appropriation, and we assign our accounts and our salaries appropriately based off of those appropriations.
Mr. Zhang, is it possible to estimate how close we get through either the reinstatement fee or the other sorts of things that are paid into the driver and vehicle services account versus how much it costs to administer and run the program? Separate and apart from the fees that are paid to the vendor for the actual implementation elements.
Mr. Chair, we can absolutely get those numbers. I don't have them available, but we absolutely can get those numbers.
Okay. I will say that that is a surprise to me that we kind of support the ignition interlock program over and above, you know, the fees that are collected by those who are participating in that program. That's not how I would necessarily like to proceed on this program, though. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm not a civil engineer. And I'm not a fiscal analyst, but I have a finance degree in real estate. But I just listening to the discussion, and I just think by doing this, and I just don't know if those fees to the user is going to make up enough. I think it's just going to be cost prohibitive to do that. I just think it's subsidized so much. So why stand up a program that can't stand on its feet, you know, from the start by doing that? Because I don't think the fees that the users are paying for the equipment and all those things, plus a fee on top to finance the program or to fund the program. I think it's going to be cost prohibitive. That's just a guess, but that's my concern. But just going back to the DVS account, you know, I've been working with the deputy registers for many, many years, and you're sick of hearing me saying this, but, you know, we tried to get some money for our deputy registers who have been testified by DVS of how important they are, and trying to get some cost shifts from DVS to the deputy registers, and the answer was we don't have enough money in our DVS account. And now we're spending more money out of our DVS account for another issue that is something that really isn't proven anywhere yet that it's working. And again, I still have a concern over there's only one vendor, and again, my question is, again, who brought this to you? That's my concern of, did a vendor bring it to you and want this for their sales to get more money? That's a concern to me. But again, I just don't think it's going to be a cost, you know, cost efficient, or it's going to be cost prohibitive to try and fund this program through fees. Not only have the user pay for the equipment plus pay for the 5 full-time employees. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's just my comments.
Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Jasinski, I just want to say the vendor did not bring it to me. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. I did ask Director Zhang. He said there are several vendors, but only one operating in Minnesota. So you are, in fact, correct about that. The families, the Steer Safe Partnership is the one that brought this to me.
Great. Thank you. Senator Hemmingsen-Yager, did you have a question?
It might be more in the judiciary space, but I'm just kind of curious what happens with the data that's collected and how did the vendor or DVS intend to use it?
Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The data is kept private and I think is only used to monitor when violations. We certainly will have to make sure of that before we go before judiciary, but that's what I believe.
Thank you. Or judiciary data or state and local data? Well, I know you got to go to state and local.
State and local, we have to go to both of them.
Yeah, all right. All right. I will turn to, we're going to try to take a stab at addressing some of these fiscal concerns. Your skepticism notwithstanding, we're going to give it a try, Senator Jasinski. All right. All right. Need another few minutes? Oh, sure. All right. So we're going to do the whole formal amendment thing. Anything further at this point? If not, we'll just lay the bill on the table. We'll move to Senator Jasinski's bill, and then we'll come back to this, if that is okay with everyone.
That's great.
All right. So with that, we will lay Senate file, what is it? 3691 on the table.
Thank you, Mr.
For
Chair.
a few minutes. Thanks. All right, Senator Jasinski. Senator Jasinski, Senate File 4051. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So this came from our first meeting of the year on the cost participation policy. One of the recommendations was a language change to allow highway funds to be used to relocate utilities. Again, this is only if, and I'll read this, when a local unit of government as defined in section 18B-01 subdivision 14A or Minnesota tribal government as defined under section 10.65 subdivision 2 owns a utility system for supplying light, water, sanitary sewer service or storm sewer service, and the system is authorized by the law to use public highway for the location of the utility facility, and the remaining service life of the utility must be determined by the commissioner and must be paid out of the trunk highway fund whenever the commissioner determines that a relocation of the system is required by the construction of a project or a trunk highway system. So again, I've been talking about leakages for years, but I think this is something that we want to work on as part of a highway project. This is only if it's required by that. It's not a secondary item. So also, just so members know, I also have two amendments. There's the A1 and the A2. We've had some discussion since Friday about implementing and when it would be implemented. I did get a call, and so there was a discussion of when it would be implemented. To my understanding, they could not do it by July 1st of 2026, as was in the original bill. So there's an amendment for January 1st of 2027 and July 1st of 2027. So two discussion amendments so we can make sure that we have enough time for them to implement this, but I had both of those drafted just so we could discuss it and decide which one is most appropriate for it. So I think I have some testifiers here to discuss this. So with that, I'll turn it over to them and then we'll have a discussion after that. But that's basically the bill. This was recommended by staff to change this, or council, I should say. Thanks to my co-authors, Senator Dibble, Senator Johnson, Stewart, and Senator Lang. Again, a bipartisan bill to correct these issues. So with that, I'll turn it over to my testifiers.
Great. Senator Jasinski, should we adopt these amendments now?
Mr. Chair, no, this is for discussions. We have two different ones. I'd like to hear from the testifiers and have the discussion on what the most appropriate implementation would be given their discussion on that with MnDOT and other participants.
Okay, very good. All right, so we have Julie Long from Bloomington, and also on behalf of the city engineers and Metro City and the League of Minnesota Cities. So carrying a big burden, Ms. Long. All right, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Dibble. Members of the committee, thank you for your continued efforts to reduce construction costs to local government units for state projects. My name is Julie Long, and I'm the city engineer for Bloomington, and I recently served as part of the Cost Participation Policy Steering Committee, and I'm a member and committee chair for the City Engineers Association of Minnesota, also known as SEAM. One of the most significant components of the updated cost participation policy is for the recommendation for a statutory change to allow MnDOT to fund utility relocation out of the Trunk Highway Fund. I can say confidently that SEAM, Metro Cities, and the League of Minnesota Cities enthusiastically support this bill. It has the potential for substantial local agency savings when utilities must be relocated due to a MnDOT project, and there is substantial remaining service life for those utilities. To illustrate, both the cities of Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center's estimated cost share for the Trunk Highway 252 project exceeds $20 million for each community, including significant costs associated with relocating municipal utilities. They have a mix of utilities that were installed in the 1960s and the 1990s. The utilities that were installed in the 1990s are in good condition and have substantial remaining service life, and but for the project, there would be no city capital dollars spent on these utilities. Enabling MnDOT to participate in the relocation costs reduces local financial strain and increases predictability for utility capital infrastructure, preventing cities from prematurely replacing assets and diverting funds away from more urgent needs. Closer to home, Bloomington has spent roughly $1 million on utility relocations of sanitary sewer and water main as part of the I-94 Phase 1 project. With our bonding request for sanitary sewer, you can see the city has significant utility needs that come with substantial costs that rely on utility ratepayers, which is a direct cost to residents and businesses. We recognize these changes shift financial responsibility to the state. We appreciate the legislature's continued commitment to transportation investment and respectfully urge you to support both the statutory changes before you and increase the sustainable funding for the transportation at all levels. Thank you to the committee for your time and Senator Jasinski for this bill. This concludes my testimony, Mr. Chair.
Great. Questions for Ms. Long, members? All right. I'll invite Bradley Chapulis from Baxter on behalf of the League of Minnesota Cities as well. I believe he is on a Zoom. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Dibble. Chair Dibble, members of the Senate Transportation Committee, my name is Brad Chapulis. I am the city administrator for the city of Baxter. I am here before you today virtually on behalf of the League of Minnesota Cities and their 843 members to express support for Senate File 4051. I was asked to utilize this time to illustrate how this legislation would apply to upcoming project within the city of Baxter. Baxter is located at the crossroads of two significant state highways in north central Minnesota, those being Minnesota Highway 210 and Minnesota Highway 371. Based on a collaborative effort between MnDOT District 3, Crow Wing County, and the city of Baxter, this intersection was awarded Corridors of Commerce funding for the construction of a grade separation project, which we commonly refer to here locally as the Highway 371 Overpass Project. The project is scheduled to be constructed in 2028 and 2029. As with most MnDOT projects, there are improvements or modifications to the adjacent local infrastructure that requires cities to attend to, which are outside the scope of a MnDOT project, such as local roadway modifications, utility relocations, and/or improvements. For this particular project, the city will have approximately $6 million in such related expenditures with the overpass project. $906,000 of that expenditure is specifically related to the relocation and/or improvements to the city's water and sanitary sewer mains that are located within the project area. Being a relatively younger community, these mains have several years of useful life remaining. The sanitary sewer, or the water and the sanitary sewer mains were originally constructed in 1979 and 1998, respectively. With the project recently having received municipal consent, the city is currently reviewing how it'll pay for these additional expenditures. Absent of a mechanism such as Senate File 4051 to assist with the relocation and improvements of our utilities within the project area, financing would solely come from the city's water and enterprise funds to cover those expenditures. Tapping into those enterprise funds would translate into utility rate increases and/or delaying other important infrastructure projects within the city. With just under 3,000 utility accounts in our city, that $906,000 would result in a significant increase in the Baxter utility bill over the course of a few calendar years. If enacted, Senate File 4051 would relieve some of the cost burden that historically has been borne by local taxpayers and ratepayers for regionally significant highway projects that are utilized by so many Minnesotans, like Minnesota Highways 210 and 371. I thank you for this opportunity to testify on the bill, and I'm available to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Choulis. Questions, members? All right. I'll invite Shane Zart on behalf of CGMC to come forward.
Thank you.
Welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Chair and members, and thank you to Senator Jasinski for bringing this bill forward. I'll keep it quick because I think I would be repeating some of the other testifiers. But again, name is Shane Zart with Flaherty and Hood here on behalf of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Wanted to speak just to kind of add to the chorus with one other quick example from the city of Roseau in northwest Minnesota. They had a really great example of this with an upcoming project, a reconstruction project that will be coming through their city on Highway 89 summer of 2027. It's about an 8-block section. There's a lot of utilities that need to be relocated in that project, but a couple of great examples for kind of how this bill is intended to work. 2 water mains would need to be lowered as a result of the project design. One of those, constructed in the 1940s originally. I don't think the city's expecting much for that. One of them a lot newer than that, though. So I think the mechanism in the bill to help determine the remaining useful life of utilities and adjust responsibility along those lines is well thought out. Maybe even more to the point, 2 municipal electric lines will be relocated as a result of the project. One of those will just be 2 years old at the time that the project begins. So obviously quite a bit of useful life left in that one. I thought, listening to some of the other testifiers, though, maybe I'd add a little perspective just on scale for a city like Roseau. Their total share on the project I just described be estimated at $300,000, which I think, given that we heard, the numbers like 20 million thrown around in the 252 example, that's a huge deal. For a city like Roseau, this is also a huge deal. Roseau is about population about 2,700. Their annual levy is about 1.25 million. So 300,000, if my napkin math is correct, is about 24% of their levy annually. So cost participation in a project like that can be a major burden for the city, but obviously a very needed project they want to see get done. And thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you again to the co-authors and to the committee for hearing it.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Zart? All right. Thank you. So I don't know if we answered the question of January or July. I'm one, we're, each of those dates is in the middle of something. So of course, the middle of January is the middle of the fiscal year, July is the middle of the construction season. My bias would run towards not changing modes in the middle of the construction season, and going with the January date. That's just what I think. But wondering if anyone else has if you have an opinion, Senator Jasinski, or if MnDOT or someone more learned has an opinion on which is the better of the effective dates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this was just brought to me on Friday. I got a call from Ms. Witt talking about it, and I said, well, we'll draft both amendments. Obviously, the sooner the better, and obviously, I think the original bill was July 1st of 2026, and there's been some bids let already, and it would screw up right in the middle of those. So the sooner the better, but I said I'd have that discussion today, so if someone from MnDOT wants to come up and describe, the idiosyncrasies of doing it January or July, I'm open to that. I want to work together, obviously, a bipartisan bill, but the sooner the better is what I would say, but I'm open for whatever MnDOT would see as the best option.
See MnDOT leaping forward, so please come forward. In the meantime, Senator Johnson Stewart has a question or opinion.
Mr. Chair, Senator Jasinski, I'm sure MnDOT can be much more competent on this, but I would say it's more important that we change the date so as to be coincidental with when the contract documents are being prepared versus when construction happens. So I would keep it at July, but he can say what he wants.
All right. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Philip Schaffner. I'm the director of MnDOT's Office of Transportation System Management and led the update of the cost participation policy. Yes, MnDOT would prefer to have the July 1st, 2027 date to coincide with the fiscal year. However, we think it is feasible to hit the January 1st date. As Senator Johnson Stewart just referenced, the contracts and the agreements with local units of government are negotiated months in advance of actual construction. And so to give ourselves and our local agencies time to work through the details and finalize exactly how we are going to measure remaining service life and make sure that everybody is in agreement on that, and then make sure that all of our documents and processes are updated. I think that they would feel more comfortable with this starting with the start of a fiscal year, July 1st. However, we think that it is feasible to hit the January 1st deadline. So I'll just say that, but our preference would be to start with the July 1st, 2027, the start of a fiscal year.
So that sounds like January to me. and we are going to lay this over, and so if more wisdom occurs between now and when we actually send this out, we can have those further discussions. All right. So Senator Jasinski, do you want to move the A1 amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would move the A1 amendment.
Senator Jasinski moves the A1. Anything further? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. All right. So with that, we will lay.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Jasinski.
Can I just have one final comment again? I want to thank MnDOT again. I think they deserve a lot of credit this, along with the working group, to do this. As Mr. Zart pointed out, a lot of our small cities, for small cities in the 1,100, 1,200 range, and even the larger cities, a lot of times, obviously, you want a MnDOT project to come through and you want to make all those improvements. You don't want MnDOT to come up to the city, past the city, and go beyond in a road project. So, but what it can do to a small city, it can wipe out their transportation funding for many local roads that they need to improve as well. So I just think this is a great bill again, but I think hats off to MnDOT for working with the stakeholders, bringing this forward, and I think it's going to be a game changer in Minnesota for a lot of small cities and large cities to help manage their highway and road needs across the state. So thank you again.
Great. Thank you. Anything further? All right. We will lay Senate File 4051 on the table for possible inclusion in a future omnibus bill. We will take Senate File 3691 from the table. And members, so the plan is, I have the strong sense from the committee that we don't want to move this out today. We want to have more discussion. There are some really, really big changes to state law, and there are, in terms of violations and consequences for those violations. There's a big program that we're establishing. We probably need some more conversation even before we send it to judiciary and state and local and bring it back here. But in the meantime, to capture some of the conversation that we've had, Senator Johnson Stewart, do you want to offer the A2?
Yes, I offer the A2 amendment and thank fiscal staff and council for coming up with the language to indicate that program participants must pay a fee to participate in the program, which will help defray the cost of administering the program. So that's basically what the amendment does.
All right. Does everyone understand the A2? All right. All in favor of the A2, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Members, anything further on Senate File 3691? With that, we will lay Senate File 3691 on the table. Senator Johnson Stewart and I will talk about when we'll come back to this conversation. Anything further today, members? Is Ether, do you want to share anything with us? Any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Wednesday, the 11th, we will meet at 3 o'clock, our usual time, to speak about EV fuel, to talk about electricity as a fuel for cars, and we'll have a working group report and a bill from Senator Johnson Stewart on that subject.
All right. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.